Good morning, everyone. Can everyone take their seats? Hello, everyone. Can everyone take their seats? We're going to start in about 30 seconds. Okay. Good morning, everyone, once again. Thank you for coming, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends. Welcome to the United Nations Global Compact breakfast event from silos to synergy, procurement's role in advancing the SDGs. My name is Hai Teet. I'm from the UN Global Compact, and I'll be your MC this morning. For those that may not be aware, the UN Global Compact is an initiative at the United Nations that supports and mobilizes the private sector towards sustainability, the Sustainable Development Goals, and beyond. We do this through advocacy, capacity building, education, and more. For example, in my area of work, we mobilize universities, young people, and the private sector to come together to address such issues as sustainable procurement and circularity. This morning, we will have a very exciting program for you today with amazing speakers that will speak on the importance of sustainability in the procurement space, as well as innovation in the sector. We will have time for Q&A. we will have time for networking after our panel this morning, so no worries. So without further ado, I would like to invite our first speaker, Assistant Secretary General of the UN Global Compact, Sanda Ojambo, to make her opening remarks. Assistant Secretary General, please, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everybody. Hi, thanks for setting the tone. You've never actually called me by my title before, so it must be the Davos air. You didn't tell everybody what you do, though.
I work in the education sector.
He's being modest, so I'll let him be. But good morning, everybody. So good to see many of you. Excuse me, it's been such a lovely week interacting with our partners, stakeholders that work and support, the work of the Global Compact, but also more broadly, responsible and sustainable business. So this morning we are talking about procurement, silos, synergies, the SME sector, and the role of education in really helping strengthen, build capacity, break down silos, as we'll talk about, and I'm sure we'll have a lot more detailed discussion when we get into the panels. I just wanted to offer some very quick reflections on the agenda. It's great that we're here in Davos. The theme, collaboration in the intelligent age, is so important. Oftentimes people ask, so Davos, is it purely for the large multinationals? Where is the space for the SME sector, for building resilience in the other parts of the supply chain? And I think this is one of the discussions that will help us unpack that. A sub-theme of Davos this year is reimagining growth. And I believe all of us in this room don't have to imagine the critical role that the SME sector plays. If we didn't know, I'm very sure we felt it during the COVID pandemic, when literally we became very aware of every single little piece that we purchased, where it came from, and how important it was to have resilient, functioning, strong, and robust supply chains. I recall at the time I was in Kenya, where I'm from, and as everyone was getting very busy producing hand sanitizer, there was a shortage of the pumps. I don't know if it happened to other people's countries. So we had sanitizer, we had plastic bottles, but we had no hand pumps. And then you realize, my gosh, where does this pump come from? And how fragile is this supply chain ecosystem that we are trying to build, protect, preserve, and really build resilience. A couple of thoughts just around Davos, and one of the discussions that we've had over the last couple of days is really about where the opportunities lie for business. First, I think I'd love us to all leave here with a strong sense of optimism. Anybody who's been in the same discussions that I've been in the last couple of days, I think it's very clear what the task ahead is for us, for those engaged in responsible and sustainable business. It's clear that we still must keep our eyes trained on climate action. We still must continue to support inclusivity in societies. We still must continue to focus on the 17 SDGs, because I always ask the question, if not the SDGs, then what? Yes, we are behind, but we have 5 years to go. And there's lots of opportunity to still mobilize action, and collective action for that matter, to get to the SDGs. An interesting piece about the SME sector, and perhaps going into procurement a little bit, is thoughts around where geopolitics takes us. There's a lot of regionalization ongoing, and with regionalization really comes the opportunity to further localize how businesses run. And therein, I think, lies a huge opportunity for the SME sector and small businesses, because, and we're not saying that we are anti-big global business. I think that definitely makes the world run. But the truth is, regionally, locally, businesses are thriving. And I think that's a real opportunity to look at how to build resilience, how to make sure businesses that need capital can access it, create jobs for women, for young people who drive a lot of the economic growth and innovation in many of our economies. So, as I say, a sense of optimism, I think, is very important, but also continued realization of the importance of the SME sector. But a couple of key messages, since let me make sure that high speech, why I said he's very important, I won't skip high speech here, but there's 3 things that I know he wanted me to share with you, and actually they're very important for all of us. I think the first is the role of education, and that's where PRIME, our Principles for Responsible Management Education, comes in. The phrase that we often use is if you want to change how businesses are run, you have to change how business is taught. I think anyone who went to business school 20 years ago might probably notice the huge difference in the business challenges we face today. Whether your traditional MBA, be it from Harvard or Wharton or Wits or wherever it is, can serve you today, I think would be a good question to discuss. And Omid, our senior advisor there, helps lead the PRIME effort in really changing the approach to business education. It's very clear that the challenges today are around geopolitics, they're around climate action, they're around supply chain resiliency, perhaps not always taught in business schools in the traditional way, but we're working to be able to deliver that change, and it's absolutely important. The second piece is about business ambition. Ties into my earlier point about optimism. We must, in spite of the headwinds that we face, keep optimistic and keep high targets. Case in point, we all know what we need to do around climate, decarbonization, the 1.5 degree piece. I think it's very important that businesses keep their eyes trained on that. For those concerned about the US, I think what's been most heartening to see is, in spite of the US pulling out of the Paris Agreement, at the state level, a number of governors have come out reaffirming their support for strong climate action, the targets of the UN Climate Change Office and the Secretary General. Mayors are also doing the same, because they realize that their cities and their states will not be sustainable if they do not take strong climate action. So, there might be an overall, national position, but the truth is action on the ground will still continue, and it's still continuing with a lot of ambition. The next piece really is just around the SME sector and looking at resilience and what is important. We've talked a lot about technology, AI, and the efficiencies that are needed, but it's important even in the SME sector to be sure that they can leverage a lot of these advances for building resilience, for looking at stock loss, for looking at anything that needs to be optimized and made more efficient across the supply chains. And as we talk about technology today, it would be really good also to hear from the panelists about where they see it can be applied within the SME space. Finally, and I think that's obvious by who we have in the room, to achieve the global goals, we must collaborate. And so it's really great to be able to see business, academia, many of you here, stakeholders of the United Nations, in pushing forward progress towards the global goals. So thank you for your time. I know there's really exciting panels coming up, and I look forward to the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Assistant Secretary General, for your warm remarks, using your title once again. So without further ado, to get straight into our discussions, I would like to now turn our next session by inviting our moderator, Ms. Anna Mori, the Global Lead for Sustainable Supply Chains and SMEs from the UN Global Compact to the stage, as well as the panel speakers, Chanvelik Frederick Sao, Chairman of Sao Pao Chi, Luana Marcus Garcia Ozamela, Vice President of Sustainability and Social Impact at iFoods, Chris Leong, Chief Sustainability Officer at Schneider Electric, Ingrid de Verek, Chief Sustainability Officer at Anheuser-Busch, Iris van der Vecken, Executive Director of the Watch and Jewelry Initiative 2030, and Bernard Lawrence, Global Consulting Services Sustainability and Climate Leader at Deloitte. Thank you so much. You're most welcomed.
All right, thank you so much, everyone, for being here with us so early this morning. I'm sure it will be worth your time, because today we have great panelists coming from different industry, different countries. We'll be discussing basically the power of procurement to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. I'm sure that in our sustainability discussions and efforts, we deal a lot with CEOs, a lot with CSOs, CFOs now, because sustainable finance is becoming such an important topic, but very often procurement leaders, they are excluded from these discussions, from these strategic discussions, even though our discussions on sustainability strategies impact their lives, their daily work, every day, right? And also, since they hold the pen in terms of what to source, which products and services, they also have a very important role in making sure that our beautiful strategies work or not, right? So we are very excited. I just want to say a few things, just to give a bit of context. We know that 2 billion people are connected to global supply chains. 2/3 of companies' ESG impact are coming from supply chains. Sandra was talking about SMEs. They generate 50% of all jobs across the globe, and 60% of GHG emissions are coming from supply chains. So today will be with all of you. I think we'll spend the next few minutes getting inspired, but also educating a bit ourselves on efficient ways to drive sustainable supply chains, juggling innovation, technology, but also profitability. So thank you so much, all of you, for coming. I know Chris came all the way from Hong Kong and many others from Brazil, etc. So thank you so much for joining us today. And to kick things off, I will ask actually the same question for all of you. Very quick question to just like break the ice. So what are some of the biggest hurdles, biggest challenges you faced in promoting sustainable procurement initiatives within your organizations? And on the flip side, what benefits are you seeing already or expecting from these efforts? Let me choose one of you to start with, perhaps Chris. Maybe over to you.
Happy to. Good morning. Nice and early, and good to see you again, Sandra. I would tell you that it's not a walk in the park. Maybe we'll start there. And procurement for a lot of large companies that we work in is a huge part, to your point. And it consists of large, for example, in Schneider, we have over 56,000 suppliers. But then, obviously, where is the masses? Our top 1,000. So 4 years ago, we declared we're going to halve the carbon emission of our top 1,000 suppliers. We do not have a roadmap to do that when we declare that. We put the bold ambition in front, and we are all going to work towards it and make it happen. Now, why do I say we're going to make it happen? In Schneider, whatever we set, it also forms the bonus system for 60,000 people. People will get very angry if we don't achieve what we declare, all right? Because it's money in people's pocket and food on the table across the board. So we take our ambitions seriously, but yet we want to be bold, because at the same time, if you already have everything predefined and you know how to reach it, I would argue you're sandbagging the topic. So then we're not ambitious enough. When we started this top 1,000, less than 15% of the top 1,000, it's a terrible thing to say, but has any form of decarbonization program, language, vocabulary, etc. So the starting point is really low. So we go on education, we go on auditing, platforming, supporting, helping to dashboarding. Very proud. Across the board, we have suppliers in India, Vietnam, China, all over, from installing their own renewables, as solar, etc., to finding new ways to do heat removals, to, I learned this, electric forklift. So simple things, but a whole lot of things that comes together. Awesome. Very proud. We are on track, not there yet, but we're about 40% instead of 50, but it's 40 more than zero when we started. So just to put that in perspective. So I think you just need to, it's not a walk in the park, but you need to be bold, and we can work it out because we have smart people all over.
Yeah. We need to just to get going, right? That's the main idea. Okay, moving on perhaps to Dr. Bernard. Yes? Good morning.
Good morning, yes. It's definitely not a walk in the park. Good morning, everybody. I would share maybe my global impression on this and follow up what the Assistant Secretary General introduced, which is a challenge to all of us working in this space at the very moment, right? What happened to the last 48 hours. And if you listen to the speeches down the Congress Center, Madame von der Leyen yesterday made pretty clear that Europe is going on with this pathway. And for all of you who want to do business in Europe, it's super important to understand that we will not change paths, at least from what we hear. And that means that CSRD will be implemented, and has a global outreach on our supply chains globally. And who wants to do business in Europe or is involved with more than 100 million revenues has to deal with this directive, which I consider as the smartest thing that we have on planet Earth to really go into sustainable supply chains. I consider Europe, and I've been a negotiator on the climate space for over 20 years, I consider Europe really as a little bit the Silicon Valley of regulations, right? We're really strong in one thing. We develop smart regulations. We set strong standards, and I'm deeply convinced that strong standards make companies stronger, particularly when they work with a global outreach. So I would say the major struggle, despite the walk in the park picture that Schneider just painted, is really to keep on the path with a lot of challenges in other constituencies from outside Europe. And I'm responsible globally at Deloitte for our sustainability practice. That's 10,000 people helping companies worldwide to go this pathway. Technology can, of course, help, and I'd be happy to talk to you about this. But I would say, keep in mind, this is a long journey, and we started it together globally. Europe is playing a major role. I hear the same voices out of Asia, and I'm really very confident that we keep on track.
Thank you for your point, definitely. Regulatory frameworks just push us to the right direction. Moving on to Luana from iFood Delivery in Brazil. So I will repeat the question just because it's the same. What are some of the biggest challenges you faced in promoting sustainable procurement?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. I think the platform, digital platforms is quite new industry. We have existed maybe less than 20 years, and it has totally revolutionized the way we even think procurement, maybe, I dare to say, because when you look at iFood is a Brazilian company. We are moving beyond just delivering food and groceries. We are also expanding into the financial services for businesses plugged in the ecosystem, which today represents already 40% of our revenue comes from financial services. But iFood, it's a very large company when you consider the contributions to the GDP of Brazil, which is one of the 10 largest economies in the world. We represent 0.5 percentage point of the value added to the economy annually, and we create 1 million job opportunities, direct and indirect, in that whole value chain of multi-categories that are commercialized on the platform. And because of that, we need thousands and thousands of people working on the ecosystem. We have 400,000 drivers. We have about 370,000 small businesses selling on the platform. So when we think about procurement, and all those businesses are spread across Brazil, which has a continental size. We are in over 1,700 cities. So when you think about how do we serve better those businesses? How do we provide programs and services and to the drivers? How do we expand health services? How do we expand insurance? We have to work not with one big company. We have to work with hundreds of small suppliers locally, because even though we are a large platform based in São Paulo, the essence of our work is very much localized. So for us, the biggest challenge has been scaling up quickly and spreading in a reasonable way our network of suppliers, keeping standards across country and inside the country, but also making sure that we help those suppliers really speed up in terms of, as I said, the standards. So we have a bunch of examples that maybe I can share later on how we have done that, because we have done some pretty interesting things on that space.
We are excited to hear more in a minute, and maybe not going so far from the same sector, right? Food delivery is one side of the chain. Now going to AB and Bev with Ingrid. So what are your thoughts on challenges?
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
Early morning. My name is Ingrid Rijk, and I'm the Chief Sustainability Officer for AB and Bev. I have a background in supply chain and more than 15 years in procurement. So after procurement, went into sustainability. So I'm excited about the topic of today's panel. For those of you who don't know our company, we are the world's leading brewer, brands like Stella Artois, Budweiser, and Corona. We're present in about 50 markets around the world, and we have more than 500 brands there. Now, beer, as you may know, is a local product, but it's also a very natural product. It's brewed with natural ingredients. So as a company, we are heavily reliant on the availability of high-quality natural ingredients like hops, barley, cassava, sorghum, depending on the area in the world where we source them. We also need healthy ecosystems to grow those ingredients, and we need thriving communities because we're very local and our people live and work in the communities where we operate. So for us, the focus on a sustainable supply chain is an absolute key component of our business strategy, and it's fully integrated into that commercial strategy. Having said that, more than 80% of our company's emissions are in our scope 3. Mm-hmm. So working across our value chain is absolutely essential to decarbonize our entire value chain. We work with thousands of suppliers, just like you mentioned before, and they range from smallholder farmers in India over commercial farming corporations using high-tech, let's say in Argentina, all the way to big corporations who are present here this week in Davos, so, and everything in between. So it's a very wide, diverse spectrum of suppliers that we need to manage, very similar to what you were talking about. So that means that it's a lot of hard work to bring all of them in, to get them educated, to talk about transition plans with that wide spectrum of suppliers. So collaboration, education, definitely key topics that we double down on to make sure that they all progress. Now, let me take it to the flip side. What's the benefit when you do it right? Let me talk to you about the work we do in Uganda. In Uganda, we work with about 10,000 smallholder farmers that supply us barley. We have our local operations there, so we depend on local ingredients right there. Back in 2018, we were sourcing about 8,000 tons locally from those 10,000 suppliers. We set up a local agronomy program. That's what we like to do. We like to work local and farmer-centric. We hired our agronomists, educated them, and on a daily basis, they work with all of our farmers educating them, giving them access to our barley varieties, making sure they understand the crop management protocols to actually grow the barley in the most efficient way, giving them access to financial services, and helping them understand what means regenerative practices and how you advance there. Fast forward to last year, we were able to get all of our needs, so 4 times what we did in 2018, 4 times the yields locally sourced from the same amount of suppliers.
Congrats.
So by farmer, in just a couple of years, they increased their own yield 4x.
That's a very concrete
That's an amazing
example.
benefit for
Yeah.
them. For the country, we help them evolve on the agronomic side as well. Lots of knowledge that we brought in there. For us, we don't need to import barley into the country.
True.
You can imagine what that means, right? There's a lot more resilience, local supply chain, supply security, big benefit right there. Lots of savings in terms of emissions. Emissions equal dollars, euros, whatever currency you report in, so you reduce cost, goes straight to your bottom line. And then lastly, as the big cherry on top of the cake, we saved more than $30 million in excise taxes.
And we like that, I guess, right? Well, thank you so much for your response. I move on to now, Chevrolet GPC is present in so many different sectors. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on the biggest challenges and also benefits.
I think the biggest challenge is actually from silo to synergy. Synergy comes from this connection. So our biggest challenge is how do we make people connect with their heart to open up their mind and foster connection and collaboration. Things we do is very important, but how do we really accelerate and go into collaboration to create it? And it's very different. More than 20 years ago, I was chairman of Intercargo working with IMO. Now put it in the UN context. There was at that time fighting substandard shipping. And today we're fighting sustainable shipping. It's like very difficult because the people's mind is like, IMO is putting up more regulation. The industry is like, delay it if possible. And when it happened, how to negotiate around it, where are the cracks? Now, that is very difficult. So if you turn into your supply chain, well, you have the power. You're the buyer. Same thing is happening. And it look appearing, oh, we're doing well. But underneath, there's a resistance. Until we get people's heart open up and connect, then the mind cannot open. Then you'll be in silos. The learning is reduced, and collaboration is almost impossible. Because what's in it for me? But when they see that we are all at stake, what's in it for us? The heart knows. Inside our mind, the heart is holistic. The minute we open the eyes, everything's separated. So we need to integrate the doing with the own internal transformation. I think that's our challenge. So we created a Octave Institute researching and developing basically organization development from individual to collective transformation. And we do a lot of research on consciousness and intervention. What kind of intervention we move in, we shift consciousness best for best outcome performance. I think that is a very important part. I follow UN from the Millennium Goals all the way, which is holistic, but people don't understand what they mean by holistic approach. I'd like to offer something there. To really understanding we have to create a new economy of well-being and happiness. Well, that's 2012, and many happiness report. But that is still an appearance and issues focus. Then the sustainability goals. Well, that is external goals. Now I know there is a movement by a Swedish initiative called internal development goals. Now these must go. We must complete it. Because to achieve those goals, we also have internal goals. So we are motivated, committed, expanded our consciousness to understand we exist in nature, which people say, that we are a life system. In fact, the whole universe and the cosmos is part of the life system. So we need to do learning and education. That is the long-term solution for those goals.
Thank you.
But meantime, we have every business must awaken to take full responsibility and no self-denial. We are responsible to change the market economy. Thank you.
Thank you. And it's so interesting to see that, you know, each one of you basically is bringing a different perspective. And sometimes we focus on the practical one. So it's very good to have this sort of insight. At the end of the day, behind every decision, there's a human being, right? And having this holistic approach and partnership approach is very important as well. Thank you. Last but not least, our dear partner, Iris, Executive Director of Watch and Jewelry. In your opinion, so what are the challenges?
Well, I'm an optimist. So
Okay.
I think challenges are also opportunities. So first of all, for those of you that do not know the Watch and Jewelry Initiative 2030, we're actually a recently developed organization co-founded by two competitors, Maison Cartier, delegated by Richemont, and the Kering Group. And today we are a coalition over 70 brands and suppliers, but top brands in the world, accelerating climate resilience, biodiversity, and nature and inclusiveness. And we're absolutely a very proud member of the Global Compact and Signature of the Webs. I think first of all, it's about, you said it so rightly, it's about leadership. If those two CEOs would have not come together in the industry to say, well, we can and must advance the industry, and with humility, we are not saying that other companies are not doing so well, but we believe there's advancement needed. We need bolder leadership, and they did it. I think second is that education is key. And education is definitely key for suppliers. And believe me, when we look at watches and jewelry, look at where everything is coming from. So I'm talking about the natural resources from diamonds to gold to silver to other precious metals, colored gemstones, 90% artisanal. But also look at all the components, what you're wearing. You would be surprised if you were an earring, how many components are in it. Diversification of suppliers, and mostly family businesses. So imagine those family businesses, and believe me, I have deep respect for suppliers. I've worked 20 years on the ground in factories. They're actually creating the product. They're actually, when designs come in, they have to make it, and they're often, you see the biggest risk. So there's a huge, I would say, mutual responsibility to bring them on board. And what we see is that suppliers are overwhelmed. First of all, because there's duplication of efforts. They get questionnaires and audits from the same companies. And there are different formats, and at the end of the day, it takes a lot of time. Multiple audits. Second, there's anxiety on the new regulations. What does it mean? Because also, even though you have the European regulations, this has an impact, of course, for companies abroad working with us. So what we've done as an initiative is we actually have, the past 2 years, have focused very much on 3 pathways: education, action, accountability. Education, we've done a pilot with the European Commission on the regulations. So what does it mean for you? And we actually worked with a couple of brands, including Audemars Piguet, Chanel, Cartier, Gucci, etc., but also suppliers, to understand what are the repercussions of the regulations and how much more context and guidance do we have to give. A white paper will come out next week. We give individual sessions, help desk sessions, etc., and it works very well. That's one on the regulations. We've developed, and it's something I'm really particularly proud of, we developed the nature pathway. And this is really, Sandra, you saw Mrs. Marie-Claire Daveux, I really want to tell this is really a recognition to her leadership and caring. So we said, all the companies do not really understand how nature is critical for their business strategy. So we built a nature roadmap. We went to multi-consultation with industry, civil society, academic world. We launched a nature roadmap, and now we've launched what we call the Nature Action Playbook. And this is 120 days of nature with the companies, with help desk support, but also an online tool to help them. And we're going to look at now, after those 120 days, what's changed it, and we're going to follow these companies for till 2030. So these are a few concrete examples of, so I would say education, but, education is not enough because we've got to motivate them to action. And then we hope to also report on our progress step by step.
Thank you. So education, action, and accountability. All right. So I would love to spend more 2 hours talking to everyone. So I just would like to share with the speakers that we are going to have another round of questions. So instead of the 2 rounds, we're going to have one, so we can allow everyone to have some networking time as well. And I'm starting with Dr. Bernard. So thinking about innovation and digital tools, the Deloitte Center for Sustainable Progress explores effective and groundbreaking solutions for global sustainability challenges. No pressure, but this is what is written on your website. So, yes, and yeah, your corner here. So what's one of the most exciting or surprising innovations Deloitte has designed or implemented to support companies with sustainable sourcing? And which upcoming technology do you think have the greatest impact on sustainable procurement? Boom.
Boom. I have to look at our website again, sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, the key thing, and I'm coming back to my first statement, is really dealing with the challenge of regulation and connecting it with the hearts and minds and with, of course, accountability and transparency at the very end. And I think this is doable. This is very much doable, particularly with technologies. I mean, technologies play a major role in supply chains management. And I think the hottest thing at the moment is, of course, delivering a software or a solution that we and many other competitors do in the very same way, develop together with our clients in order to not only meet the regulations, but also make it a business case. And that's what I liked about the Anheuser-Busch case, that you really think about a business case taking out of investments in a more sustainable supply chain. And combining the two is a little bit our kind of what we try to sell as a unique selling point, really to say that it's not really about only meeting the targets of regulation that, particularly if we do business in the EU, is now spot on, but really try to develop to a system where the balanced scorecard of the CFO, not on the supplier side, but also the CFO, is not only looking at the financial numbers, but also at the number that he gets from the supply chain because of ESG data. And to get those data, of course, everybody uses at the moment a lot of AI-based data analytic systems. There are many offers in this space by all big brands that deliver those things. We work with all of them. The key thing is to find individual solutions for the company to run their supply management and really get it on the board level, the attention that investments decisions of the future are not driven only by financial opportunities as we did 5 years ago, but driven by anticipating the changes in suppliers, making them more resilient and attractive and being transparent at the same time. I really like this trias of accountability and also the view on education and training. But this is probably what I would argue is something that I would put always in the front of client conversations globally. Make it a business case, because that's also how you convince hearts of businessmen, right? Thank you.
Thank you so much. And now moving again to the food and beverage sector here. And I know this is such a complex sector, super interconnected with challenges. Thank you so much, Professor. And yeah, it's such a interconnected value chain with challenges and opportunities at different parts of the value chain, from sourcing the raw materials to production capacity to delivering the product to consumers, right? So I'm going to the second round of questions, and here my question is to Ingrid. So building on how technology promotes sustainability among partners, you have what we call Eclipse platform, which shows how technology is linking suppliers and partners across, to basically achieve shared goals. It supports activities in climate action, packaging innovation, water stewardship, and smart agriculture. So what are the success factors of Eclipse platform, and what is missing to better engage? What you could do better to better engage with your agricultural suppliers?
Like I said, more than 80% is part of our emissions is in our scope 3. So collaboration with our value chain is essential. That's why back in 2019, we established a program called Eclipse. It's our supplier collaboration platform, essentially. It was established first in the initial phase to help our suppliers set decarbonization targets. Very simple, help them set it, provide some education, and help them share progress on their decarbonization journey. By now, a couple of years later, we have around 260 suppliers, a little bit more than that, completely integrated into the platform, actively engaging with it. Sounds little when you work with thousands of suppliers, but those 260 represent more than a third of our scope 3 emissions.
Wow.
So to have them fully engaged and actively working with us is actually a strong progress there. It also evolved into just helping them set targets and getting some data. It evolved into a real collaboration platform where we get together in a pre-competitive way, right? So competitors get together in the same room, talk about similar challenges for similar industries, and work through some of those challenges, share what worked, share what hasn't worked, because it makes sense from a business perspective, but also because it helps the whole industry to move forward towards decarbonization. We share a lot of the innovations that we have tried, but also some of the suppliers bring some of the innovative technologies with them. And some of it is not so innovative. Some of it is just very available technology, right? Like renewable electricity. So we partner with Schneider Electric all around the world. And so they've been part of some of our Eclipse meetings, sharing with those suppliers, how do you move forward on your journey towards renewable electricity, for instance. So, and then they help them to advance on their 100RE journey as well. We also bring innovations from our own innovation platform called 100 Plus Accelerator, things that worked on our packaging lines to reduce water consumption. We will bring that to them because there's suppliers there that consume a lot of water as well. So let's share what worked, what didn't work, so that they can scale the same solutions and be better for our entire value chain. So what are the key success factors? To come back to your initial question on Eclipse, it really is about driving that value chain collaboration between those partners. That would be the first one.
Those silos?
Yes, exactly. I see the second one really in leading by example. A lot of companies have that part of their principles, but when you but when you lead such a big supply chain, you have a role to play to set the standard and set the expectations. So we want to show that way to our suppliers, for sure. And lastly, there's a lot of data available. So a big success factor there is the move towards transparency and building trust through that supply chain.
So this is what is missing then. Transparency, more data.
I think we have more to do, but what is really missing is joint action.
Okay, that's
Joint
why we're
action.
here together.
Yes.
Yes, and I'm very happy to see the collaboration with Schneider Electric, and congrats on the
And
Eclipse
Ingrid,
platform.
I'm going to come and see you on the suppliers. I want to learn from you.
Oh, that's excellent. That's excellent. Okay, still on the food sector, and Luana. So we are on technology innovation, and of course, key to advancing sustainable procurement. And iFood work with large networks, restaurants, supermarkets, delivery people, and so on. It's very complex. So how does iFood use technology, AI, to track and boost restaurant, supermarkets, your supplier sustainability efforts? And which systems work best to encourage your sourcing partners to go sustainable?
Yes. So so far in the last 3 years, we've done 175 million orders using clean modes of transportation: bicycles, electric bikes, electric motorbikes. But it's still small for what we have in orders. We have about 1 billion orders per year, so we need to grow much more still.
Thanks for the honesty.
Yes, but what we realized is that in order for us to grow quickly, we cannot rely just in one partner. So we have created a new system, performance-based system, and in order to onboard and integrate new suppliers. For example, rental, small startups that offer rental of clean transport. And what we do, we subsidize so that the workers pay very little weekly for it. But in order for those startups to grow, they need capital. They need to really, sometimes we are bringing a qualified demand that will grow their business 10 times in less than 3 months. And they do not have the capacity to grow 10 times. So what we do, we created a way of offering the banks a letter to say, we are going to ensure they have this demand, and they will have the money to repay. So we created what we call qualified demand memo, intention letters, so that, and today we went from one big supplier that was not growing as fast as we wanted to having like 4 or 5, and regionally we are covered. And the development banks are honoring those letters, giving better conditions to those startups on their repayment. And I think on the AI, what we did then is working with our big supplier, MetLife, on insurance for drivers. So none of the drivers have to pay for road accident insurance, for life insurance. It's all offered for free, and it became a very big bill for us. Yes. So how do we make this contract more competitive in a way, not on the price negotiation? We know there is a cost for MetLife. We understand. We have 400,000 drivers. So how do we grow coverage? How do we improve the premiums and all that we have to pay without breaking the bank for MetLife, without breaking the bank for us? So we don't want price wars on contract. So that's where AI came to play. We used AI to identify fraud in insurance claims. And we were able to save a lot of money for MetLife, a lot, and it was us who developed the AI. And we were also able to decrease our premiums, save money for MetLife, and improve the coverage for the drivers. Beside that, we decreased in 10 days the waiting times that they used to be waiting in order to have their claims honored, because we were able to decrease fraud by 97%.
Wow.
So AI has been a huge ally for social impact for us. And we hope to show that case study around the world, because we just now rolled out and started collecting this data 3 months ago. And MetLife is very happy with us.
Yeah, sure.
And the drivers are very happy because it's much faster. And these are some of the things. There are other things we use social behavioral change. Professor here was sharing on the consciousness for reducing plastic with the restaurants. We nudge customers to not order plastic things, packaging and all that. And also today, about 70% of restaurants are part of that program, and we were able to avoid so much plastic. But it's still in the beginning, we're still starting. We feel we are still gonna grow a lot in this space, and we just here really to find partners to expand that work.
You're just starting. Imagine in a few years. Oh my God, it just gave me goosebumps. Thank you so much for these concrete examples. Amazing. All right. And please come talk to Luana. I'm sure you get more inspired. Now, Chavalit, many companies are teaming up with startups, right, including TPC, and adopting new technologies to drive impact and innovation. TPC has invested a lot in this space, in working with startups, innovation, and so on. So can you share your approach to fostering innovation, working with the startups on sustainability? What lessons have you learned? And how are these efforts shaping up the future of your sustainability metrics, goals, and so on?
Before I talk about startup, how we nurture them, the most difficult one is social entrepreneurial piece, social impact. We have 3. And that I led myself because they are not entrepreneur. To do social transformation, entrepreneurship is the highest form. It is the biggest challenge for entrepreneur because they do it for love. That is to realize the expression of love. This is a very difficult, and so it's difficult to hire people to do it. Back to the most important innovation is alignment and environment that we do, which is organizational structure. Because if you don't create a bigger environment, it's difficult for them to move within the environment. Now, we know change is coming, we know change is happening, and so the speed has to speed up to catch up. However, we have structural issues, mindset issue. I talk about mindset. So we have a program called Quantum Leadership as a 2.5-year to change the mindset of our own people. The first is your own people. Sure. I know all of us, that's a big. How can you actually effect the line unless you change yourself, right? The second thing is structural issue. Now earlier I talked about research. The good thing about research with AI now is that you can do complex evaluation of your business model you're creating with AI. Because it's dynamic and it's complex, so we're developing this whole measurement matrix to be operating AI, because you cannot manage well without measurements. So that's an infrastructural dedication to do, which is again part of OD. Then you look at the structure. For us, we realize they're in silos. So we created, besides family philanthropy, 3 systemic design of our internal philanthropy system and engage our people into participation. One, to do with the environment. We formed a Restore Nature, which actually restore both the ocean, rainforest, by that. But it's not standalone, because you also need local transformation. You have indigenous tribe that help them transform into meeting the modern while not losing its essence and rituals. And you have to develop ESG community, offer more complex opportunity to train people not to just become farmers, but other things that can actually add into that village to help them. So it's a very complex dance. All 3, we have Octave about social, personal, and collective transformation. We have Restore Nature, deal with environment, external and internal. And then we have number 17, which is partnership, because we believe with number 17, we can do 160 goals. But without number 17, it's hardly do 1 goal within that 1 pillar. Think about food. Food is a whole food system. And it's deal with climate change. It's deal with social issue. It's deal with migration. So the minute you think about food, what we do our food system. We have 6 pillars of execution into business, like, of course, climate, nature, food system, energy, decarbonization, transition, circular economy, and so forth. that these are business executable business pillars that can integrate all the goals into the pillar that business can use. So you need structural change. You need system design. And then these three, we don't live alone. As outside environment, earlier we mentioned about small, medium size. They account, according to our FBN statistics, 70%, UN is 60%, but never mind, they are very significant. Family business is already aligned to sustainability because they want to have succession, they want flourishing. This sustainability is a threat, is a fear that they are automatically aligned because they want to grow cross generations. There's a motivation. The question is, not enough consciousness, don't know how to do. They want legacy, but they need to change the concept of legacy in every era. And so in the Family Business Network, which I've been there for more than 2 decades, I've been tasked to drive the impact agendas throughout the whole organization, to bring this awareness, to wake up that family business must lead the way, because big corporations have layer and layer of shareholders. They have very difficult. Family business, 70%. So now I'm forming an association of well-being economy to do that system to help small, medium-sized company catch up, educate them, and transform together. It will be launched in March this year. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. And it's true that we talk a lot about AI technology, but I think what we have a saying in Brazil that I'm seeing that's very popular right now, Luana, maybe you know it, this is basically it is that the future is ancestral, right? We are thinking about biodiversity, regenerative practices and restoration, and so the future is ancestral as well. All right, so moving on, and now we have to speed up a little bit because we're running out of time. So Iris, you're representing so many different brands, Pandora, Swarovski, and I know that they're doing a lot in aligning efforts around sustainable procurement. So what tools, knowledge, or joint efforts are most needed by key players in the watch and jewelry industry to really push procurement sustainably?
So I think it's been said, I think first of all, genuine collaboration, the intention to build capacity with suppliers, real capacity, it's not about compliance. It's about really giving them the tools that they can improve their own business model. And I fully agree, family businesses are there to stay and they need the tools. So I think this genuine collaboration. I think second, and we said it already, is education. That's why, and not reinventing the wheel. I think sometimes we all just put our egos down. I think, when I always say to the team, why would we reinvent a great education if the Global Compact has a great education program? But let's contextualize it, because the industry does have some specifics on risks, on issues of due diligence, and those, of course, we have to then integrate in that education. I think accountability is critical, because what we don't know, we can't show, we can't measure. And again, that requires partnerships. And for us, there have been 3 instrumental partnerships. Of course, the Global Compact, but also UN Women and ESG Book. And allow me to say, we were the first to test gender-responsive procurement with UN Women. And we actually did it with 10 leading brands of the world. And we looked at how much are these brands buying from women entrepreneurs or companies that really embed gender into their policies and action frameworks. And you can go on our website, you'll see the results of what we did with UN Women. We're going to now phase 2, because clearly we can do much better. But what was also interesting is that often chief procurement are men. Second is that they've not been really, the chief procurements have not been educated on these key topics. So in my view, it's also this education across all the business functions. And then the third partnership is with ESG Book on accountability. So on Monday, and Sanda was there, we launched our action framework. So it's a full digital pathway where companies are going on the journey of education. Then they have tools to really integrate, but with the most latest technology. So just not all these simple Excel sheets, but so that real time with lots of different opportunities to put intelligence in. And we believe that the combination of technology and education will be a great enabler. And maybe one last comment. I think because regulations, you know, it used to be, I think we were ahead of the regulations. Now regulations are moving so quickly that it requires different competencies on climate, nature, etc. I think often sustainability people were people with more the social expertise. So we also believe there that we need to work better together to bring that knowledge on leadership, that we become a bit more, I would say, diversified in those skill sets. But we want to share this. I think two important messages to you is one, anything we're building, it will become open to the wider industry once we feel it has the quality and it's been tested. And I think second, we are very much willing to show our tools to other industries. And with humility, of course, I would love to learn much about the experts, colleagues here in this panel.
Sure. We need to be cost efficient, stop duplicating efforts and so on. Chris, on the topic of standardization and alignment, and you have the last final question. Schneider Electric has doing such an amazing, it's a pleasure to work with you, with your procurement team, sustainability team. You have your sustainable procurement framework that has been running for so many years already, focusing on sustainable packaging, green materials, carbon emissions. I also learn a lot, like, from your teams when putting together the work on sustainable procurement. So reflecting on what you have done under this framework, what would you tell us that are your top priorities in focus areas for your 5-10 years vision on sustainable procurement, and why? Final question.
No pressure on the time to get.
That's it.
Well, really, I think, you know, being the opener and the closer, I realize that now. You know, the things that we're talking about, the SME, the collaboration, the partnership, the accessibility and all that. You spoke about all the things that we do, so thank you for that, then I don't need to do that. Now, I just want to tap on a few things. One, you spoke about 2 CEOs getting together who are competing in the marketplace. You spoke about Eclipse. Imagine 10 competitive CEOs get together to say, give me an Eclipse. I'm just paraphrasing. So we did that. It's called Zago. So this is a program called Energize with the top 10 pharma companies. Funny enough, they have the same supply chain. Funny enough, they do not want all of them to fill in the form many times. So we embark that value chain into all the things you talk about, education, action, etc. And we're very proud, the 10 CEOs of pharma now is 21 CEOs of pharma. So it's got bigger. So in the case of sustainability, competition become cooperation, because it makes sense to advance it. And it makes sense economically as a business case because you don't need to do it many times. You do it together because it's everybody's scope 3 collectively. So when you say, what are we doing forward? I think we have a capacity, hopefully, with humility, a lot of humility, to scale.
I'm taking notes.
To scale a lot of the belief practices that we do. The top 1,000 that I talk about for Schneider was the genesis for the pharma industry. 21 pharma CEOs get together and say, help me decarbonize my supply chain. Guess what? 2 years after that, the semicon industries come to us and say, can you now take care of that? So, because not every company has the resources to build their own platform. So we want to democratize, because what is stopping the SMEs is easy access, affordability to get. Nobody wakes up in the morning and say, I want to destroy the planet. I don't want to contribute to carbon emission problem. But please make it easy for me. Please make it simple for me to follow. Please make it business sense for me to be able to do more business with iFood, with Abby InBev, with all the things that you do. And last but not least, you say, what is the future? In the interest of declaration, I am 2 weeks into my role as the Chief Sustainability Officer. Of course,
Congrats.
I've been in Schneider for a long time. You know Jean Pascal very well. A lot of you do, supporting his mission. My dream is that if you think about Zygo today as a platform to democratize onboarding SMEs into the decarbonization journey, is very much focused on the environmental side. It's CO2. My dream is to make it holistic, to include the love side of the equation, the people side and the humanity side. In Schneider, we already do many things that you know. You know, leadership for girls, we do our gender diversity, we do our inclusion and all that. Now, in our own supply chain, we do that. We're making sure in our supply chain policy, I'm sure we do across the board with a lot of others, decent work, living wage. Not just a policy against child labor and modern slavery, but a clear management and organization process to tackle and to follow on what you do with that. Now, imagine tomorrow the sustainability platform is both environment and social.
Yeah.
We're going to drive that forward in a much more holistic manner for all.
You wrapped up this so beautifully and made my job so easy, and I think Hai's job as well. You said something, Iris, no?
No, that I think at the end of the day, like you
Goosebumps.
said, when we started with 2, now we're with 70 CEOs over 2 years and some of the most biggest brands. But at the end of the day, it's about values.
Yeah.
It's about values, and I cannot agree more, and leadership. And I think that's why the Global Compact is probably the platform in today's polarized and challenging ecosystem to do this together. And I think if even the positive power of this collaboration, what can we learn from one another? Maybe out of that we can have a more interconnected solution. So I'm in.
That's a great way into what I'm going to say, just to finalize my last cent, I would say. Isn't it great just to share all these thoughts, services, and tools, and ideas, and so on? So sustainable procurement, sustainable supply chain technology is really at the heart of what we are doing at the Global Compact, championed by definitely our ASG. And we know that, just some facts, 73% of CPOs report trouble prioritizing sustainability goals with cost, quality, and quantity. And 45% required enhanced collaboration within the organization and also across industry. So on that, and in line with what we discussed today, we are launching this year our Coalition for Sustainable Procurement, where we'll be bringing together CSOs, CPOs, governments, public side, to discuss basically how to champion cross-industry alignment on sustainable procurement and share more of that. So I invite you to come talk to us later on this and perhaps join. Schneider Electric has been such a good advisor on shaping up this coalition, so we're extremely happy. Anyway, thank you so much for your time. I know that Hai will come back just to introduce some closing remarks. I don't know if I know Sandra has such a busy agenda today, and today she'll be also speaking in Congress at 11:30. This is going to Secretary General. Okay, it's going to be speaking in Congress at 11:30. It's live streamed. It's really going to set the tone on the United Nations presence here at WEF. So we really invite you to join, watch, whatever possible. Let's push the SDGs agenda. And with that, I would like to ask for a big round of applause to our speakers. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Anna, for the amazing panel. And can we give another round of applause for the panelists? Thank you, thank you. So, such an enlightening discussion. Nonetheless, I would like to welcome Omid Ashari, Senior Advisor at the UN Global Compact, to provide some closing remarks. Senior Advisor, please, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Hai. Yeah, I will keep myself very short, I promise. Although the promise is, if you would know that I used to be 20 years a professor of strategy and leadership, so when a professor says he keeps himself short, then you might be a little bit anxious, but no worries. 3 short points. The first thing I want to say, I want really to thank the panelists and for a very encouraging contribution, because it's to diffuse, not just in this room, but also in the companies around the world. And that also speaks a lot for UNGC as a convener for this. So now 3 points, very shortly, to summarize on a meta level what many of you already said, I would just add something to that. One point is the necessity to collaborate, and that collaboration is not just a framework. It's not even just an intellectual exercise to understand each other and share information. It is a connection of hearts, because that's the only thing which binds people together and makes sure something can actually sustain at the end of the day. The second point is, as one could see with the panelists and many people in the room, you're pioneers. And yes, you know, it's not a walk in the park. And that is actually not bad for 3 reasons. One reason, because of strategic differentiation as an organization, so that's more a strategic component. The second point is what we need is a very steep learning curve, and that comes through it not being just a walk in the park. Without the learning curve being steep, we wouldn't be able to get where we want to. And the third topic is the resilience topic. Resilience requires it being hard, because it just makes the company more resilient and the way collaboration works. And the third item, which you exemplified yourself, role modeling through the wonderful examples, is action. There is no sequence of planning and then going into execution. Those 2 things need to go hand in hand. It's a co-creation in the planning process and procurement, and the whole topic of supply chain sustainability is probably the most demanding aspect of a business to be able to do that. So with these 3 points, I thank you all and wish you a great day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, senior advisors, for your remarks. And I thank you once again for waking up so early to join our event and coming to support the UN Global Compact. I just want to make a special thank you to our event sponsors, our patrons, and the supporters of the UN Global Compact for all the things that you do and to your continued support. So thank you so much. So in the spirit of Davos, please connect, network, discuss, and how we can support the SDGs and achieve them by 2030. So thank you so much, everyone, for attending. Thank you.